What is going down, sourdough squad? Dropping SDS in the chat. If you're vibing with your boy, dropping SDS in the chat. If you're loving the way the 49ers roster's coming together. Again, we've got additional news from today. We're going to talk about the draft. We haven't talked about undrafted free agents yet. So we are going to talk about the undrafted free agent class. We're going to talk about why I'm through the freaking roof with the 49ers draft right now, and I'm having a blast. Let's go. But we're going to talk about some news. We're going to talk about some signings. We're going to talk about everything in the world of the San Francisco 49ers. So shout out all the gang for hopping in here. We see you guys getting in here, dropping SDSs. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, Coach. We see you, Coach. Coach is a legend, bro. Coach is a legend. We see you, my boy. We're about to get to this particular comment here in a second. But my goodness, I'm happy right now. I'm pretty happy right now. When we look at the state of the San Francisco 49ers, you know, it's been a long offseason. I didn't know if we could ever come across an offseason that was any longer than last year's offseason. But you know what? This one was longer, but I do feel pretty good about it. I do feel pretty good about it. And we're going to talk about why I feel pretty good about it. We're going to get into it all. Shout out to SDS for showing love. We see the hive is buzzing. We out here popping. We out here popping mollies, baby. Still mad about OBJ, man. I care less about OBJ right now. Unleash the mullet. I might have to. I have to. Oh, shout out James. Look at the homie. James says, what's up, Brad? What's up, SDS faithful? This 49ers roster is looking solid as a rock. A big plus with Jason Verrett signing. And that is a great transition for us and to get into some of the topics of the day. We started off today with a big bang. San Francisco 49ers have signed Jason Verrett to a 1-year deal. I love this. I absolutely love this. I think this is a phenomenal signing. I'm interested to see what you guys think. If you like the signing, very simple. Just drop a W in the chat because that means we are getting dubs, baby. We are getting dubs. Just right now, the Texans have traded cornerback Lonnie Johnson Jr. to the Chiefs. So the Chiefs have made a roster move just now. They are sending former second-round draft pick, I believe, out of Kentucky, either Kentucky or Memphis. I always get those two mixed up, but there's a move right there. But look at all the W's in the chat. Oh, we're eating W's, baby. We are eating W's. Look at this. Look at all the W's in the chat. That's how you know we hyped. That's how you know we hyped. So absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Coach says, I can't unsee those luscious locks. Unleash that man bun. I need the O-line swag at all times. Yeah, once I let the flow go, it's hard to recontain. But hey, I might have to bring it out here pretty soon. We got a lot of good feedback on the flow from shout out coach. Shout out coach. What a legend. Eloy says, Brad, you watch film on the O-line we drafted yet? I have. We are going to talk about that in a little bit more in depth, but also we're going to talk about the undrafted free agent offensive lineman that we brought in that I'm just as excited about the undrafted free agents damn near as the entire draft. The 49ers absolutely killed it. Absolutely killed it. So let's see here. Shout out to legends. So when you look at the chat, everyone's hyped. Everyone's hyped. We'll get a couple of the W's up here. Lots of W's with the Jason Verrett signing. I'm very happy about this signing. I think this is legit. Again, we wanted Jason Verrett back heading into the free agent period. So the fact that we got him through free agency after the draft, 49ers are feeling good. Oh, we got one L. We got one L holding it down. Someone's not too happy about it. But when we look at the Jason Verrett signing, talk about ultimate low risk, high reward signing. It's a 1-year deal. The terms haven't been released. Again, they signed him heading into the 2021 season to a 1-year, $5.5 million contract. That's off the top of my head. It could be something else, but I believe it was a 1-year, $5.5 million contract, and that was after a phenomenal season in 2020. He was one of the best cornerbacks in the league in 2020 when he was able to stay healthy for the entire season. Unfortunately, we saw what happened. He goes down in the game against Detroit. Huge blow to the San Francisco 49ers depth. They were, Emmanuel Mosley was in and out of the roster for a lot of the year. So the 49ers had to rely on rookies, Ambry Thomas, Yamador Lenore. It was quite the ride at the cornerback position. My favorite thing that also this signing helps indicate to me is that this regime is like, we are having depth at every single position. Wow. The Texans are trading Lonnie Johnson to the Chiefs for a 2024 7th round pick. Tells you what the Texans think about Lonnie Johnson Jr. My goodness. Quick little story about Lonnie Johnson Jr. There's a lot of hype about Lonnie Johnson Jr. coming into the draft. He's a long corner, all this types of stuff. I didn't think he was that good. I didn't think Lonnie Johnson was that good. I said he should be like I put him in the range of 3rd to 6th round prospect because I really didn't think he was that good. And I think it's hilarious because he commented on that particular post that I made and was laughing at it. And I think it's pretty funny that he just got traded for a 2024 7th. Oh, anyways, I digress. Shout out Don Burr. We were talking about you the other day, Don. And good job. Shout out the Lions, bro. I really like what the Lions did. So we'll give a little Donnie B some airtime. Lions did some nice work. So shout out. We were like, man, where's Don? We haven't seen Don out here in a minute. Like, is my guy good? Is he all right? Like, where's Don at? Shout out Don for dropping into the chat. Good to see the boy. Love to see Donnie B in here. But let's get back to the Jason Verrett conversation. And right on time, Coach has some thoughts on the matter. Coach says, I hate being this guy. We all love JV, especially for his heart. But if he finds a way to make the roster, it's a problem. Comp should force him out, essentially saying competition should force him out. And again, I would imagine that I can agree with what Coach is saying here in a sense. So with this thought process, the room is pretty stacked, right? You have Ambry Thomas, you have Deommodore Lenore, you go and draft Womack, and you get these guys in here, obviously, with Ward already. I almost said West again. I almost called him West again. With Ward in here, now in the building, and you get Emmanuel Mosley back. it becomes kind of a crowded room. So I think to what coach is saying is if Jason Verrett makes the roster, it's a good thing, but also understanding that we know Jason Verrett has a high probability of injury, getting re-injured. So it's just one of those things where we have to be cautious in a sense. So I can kind of understand what coach is saying here. I mean, I'm pretty excited about the signing because if he can stay healthy, then it's a good position to be in. Again, you can also maybe hold him on the practice squad. Clearly, he made it through free agency and after the draft without signing, so you might be able to keep him on your practice squad and be one of those guys that you bring up and down. It's going to be very interesting. But I think the ultimate thing here is that the Jason Verrett signing isn't a detriment. It isn't going to hurt the team. They didn't spend big money on him. They're not going into this year with him penciled in as a starter. The reason why it hurt last year is because he was penciled in as cornerback one, and they did not have ample depth behind him. So when he went down game one, instantly was a huge issue. Instantly was a huge issue because when we were doing these streams at training camp, the huge thing that we kept talking about was secondary depth, not only with the cornerbacks, but with the safeties. And we're just like, there's just not good depth. We better hope and pray to our football gods that there are no injuries. So I hear what coach is saying, but I do like the fact that the 49ers were able to bring him back on a 1-year deal and can try to see if we can get him healthy and get him into the mix because, hey, if he's our fifth corner, I feel pretty good about that. So, and if he can stay healthy, he's going to be one of the best cover cornerbacks on this class or in our room. So I wouldn't be too mad at it. Wouldn't be too mad at it. I like it though. Shout out Ellis. Shout out the boy. Thank you for the donation. Shout out everyone dropping super chats. Appreciate you guys. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, we also had a pretty cool message here from Raheem Mostert. To and just let's just do a quick little refresher on Jason Brad. I mean, that too looks clean. We never got to really see it, but I'm hopeful that we get to see that man in the two again. But funny enough, with this clip is that look who he's guarding. Look who Jason Verrett is guarding. Is that DeAndre? Is that good old DeAndre Hopkins? What's up with DeAndre? Was he in the news recently? Did something happen to good old DeAndre? I think something did. That guy got suspended for 6.5 games. Oh boy. But shout out really quickly to Mostert. He dropped this comment about Verrett today. I thought it was pretty cool. He said, "My brother, congrats. The same day you sign is the same day I started running. Everything happens for a reason. We both got injured in the same game, and we both had surgery by the same doctor on the same day. Truly an inspiration. Go get it, brother. Don't let unfortunate circumstances dictate who you are. Keep grinding. You deserve it." I thought that was a pretty cool message from Mostert, especially too, because again, those guys got hit on the same day. That fateful game against the Detroit Lions, as Don Burr is in the building. But this one was pretty funny. As we know, DeAndre Hopkins got suspended for 6 games for PEDs. And my goodness, Jimmy Ward is an absolute savage and must be protected at all costs. I mean, look at his comment, bro. Look at his comment. Look at his comment. He totally, I said he threw another left. He landed another nasty left hook on DeAndre Hopkins when he said, "Pop the Molly." I'm sweating. Whoa. This dude is a certified legend. I mean, I love it, man. I'll never forget, being able to talk to Jimmy Ward about this fight. Um, it was just so cool to hear his perspective when we did a live together. And I asked him about this fight with DeAndre Hopkins, and he was talking about like, oh man, all these guys out here, they think they're a brand, they think they're bigger than they are, they think they're untouchable, and then they come across a real one who's not afraid to throw hands. And it was a great experience being able to talk to Ward about this particular fight. And I think it was the first time he had really spoken publicly about getting into this brawl with DeAndre Hopkins. This was such a legendary time in 49er fans memories. It's pretty funny, but I also just love, this man does not care. This is a man who is secure in the talent that he brings to the table. He'll say anything because he understands that his play can back it up. So that was hilarious. Shout out Detail. He saw that first, but I had to hop on the bandwagon because it was just such a good comment. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Shout out the homie Don Burr. We don't play the Lions this year, do we? I hope we do. I hope we do. But I don't know. I don't think we do. So shout out Ward. What a legend. Absolute legend. But let's see. Is there anything else that happened today before we transition to draft talk, transition to undrafted free agent talk? Want to make sure we cover everything, all the updates before we get crazy into it. Oh yeah. Do we want to talk about Deebo? That happened yesterday, but you let me know. I could mention it. I could talk about it for about 2 seconds. I don't have to talk about it at all. You let me know. I'm going to let you guys dictate. I don't care. You want me to talk about the Deebo thing? Do you not want me to talk about the Deebo thing? You drop it in the chat. I'm going to let you drive the Deebo conversation. So I got mixed reviews here in the chat. Here in the chat. So we'll touch and move. That's it. We'll touch on it and then we'll move. So yesterday we all wake up, look at that. Deebo Samuel's back in the news. He's still dug into being traded. This was after the all the drama that freaking OBJ was posting. Honestly, at this point, with the draft being over, anything that comes out of Deebo Samuel's, just anything that's coming from Deebo Samuel right now up until training camp, we don't care. We cared a lot before the draft. I guess I'll speak for myself. I don't care because I see it as this: Deebo's not going anywhere. He's not getting traded. If he would have got traded, it would have happened already. So that means Deebo Samuel's coming, or he's staying. And if he wants to hold out, then he wants to hold out. It is what it is. So until then, I really don't care anymore. Their only leverage up until this point is continuing to talk through social media. Other than that, we know he doesn't want to be here. But guess what? You don't have a choice. So going to be very interesting to see what happens at a training camp. I imagine he won't be at OTAs. I imagine he won't be at mandatory minicamp. He'll get fined. And hey, guess what? It is what it is. But I don't think the 49ers are going to move him. So he can keep talking in the social media, into the vortex. I think we're at a point now where no one cares. Like now we're at a point where anytime he's going to tweet or they're going to sub post or they're going to put out some cryptic message, everyone's just going to get more and more upset about it. So at this point, whatever. You're a 49er, unfortunately for you, because clearly you don't want to be here, but you're a 49er and they don't have to do anything. They can literally just sit on their hands and you can either show up and play or you don't have to. They've already made their decision pretty clear. So he still wants to get traded. 49ers don't care. I don't care. On to the next. We'll probably still hear him squawking in social media and creating more of a ruckus. But until then, just don't care that much anymore because it does appear he's going to be here. So it's unfortunate that it's gotten to this point. It's unfortunate that I have to say that I don't care about Deebo Samuel because I do care. I care about the person. I care about the guy. I don't care about the drama surrounding the situation anymore. I want to make that clear. I still care about Deebo. I think Deebo has probably got some things that he's, gone through that has led him to this point, but we don't know those things. So there's nothing else to talk about. It's between him and the organization and us as fans, as analysts, whatever. It is what it is. So we're gonna move on. But he's still dug in to the situation. So it is what it is. So I want to ask you guys this question because I've been kind of asking this question around multiple social media platforms. Then we'll get into the draft. Then we'll get into undrafted free agency, and we'll start talking about some of these prospects. Who do you think is going to benefit the most? Who do you think is going to benefit the most from Trey Lance starting? I'm not even going to put it out there as a hypothetical, like, oh, is Jimmy going to start? No. Who is going to benefit when Trey Lance starts? Because he will be the starter. That is how I've decided I'm speaking about this situation. When Trey Lance is starting, that's how I'm going to talk about it. So Trey Lance, starter 2022, no ifs, ands, or buts. Who is going to benefit the most from this? Who is going to benefit the most from this? And so, what's been very, very interesting to see is the overwhelming majority when I ask this particular question is one person. One person. And it isn't the man who's demanding a new contract. It isn't the man who wants to get traded. It is this man right here. Brandon Ayuk. I've polled the fan base on Twitter, polled the fan base on YouTube. This is the guy. See this guy kind of smirking off in the background? Everyone is believing right now that Brandon Ayuk is going to be the main beneficiary from Trey Lance. Why is that? We'll just go back to the Texans game, week 17. When you see Trey Lance start to get comfortable and started to fit into the particular scheme that they were calling in the second half, we're going to throw away that first half of the Texans of that Texans game because I don't know what Kyle and I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know if that was because of Trey. I don't know if that was because of Kyle. Whatever they did in that first half was straight garbage, and I hope we never see it again. But when they started to get into a rhythm, you started to see the ball be dispersed. You started to see Trey Lance take shots down the field. You started to see Trey Lance hitting deep outs. You started to see him throwing towards the sideline. You saw throws being made that we didn't see being made with Jimmy Garoppolo, who was the main beneficiary of Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's pretty crystal clear who was able to benefit the most from having Jimmy Garoppolo as the quarterback. That was Deebo Samuel. But now with Trey Lance entering the mix, Trey Lance having a bigger arm, having the ability to throw the deep ball, and willingness to throw the deep ball. That's why it's very interesting to see the majority of the fan base point to Brandon Ayuk as going to be the guy who's going to benefit the most, going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance. And I would have to agree with that. You look, when you go back and you watch the tape, there's so many instances of Brandon Ayuk just cooking dudes, and him being wide open and he's just running routes for fun. The likelihood that the ball was actually going to go his way was very minimal. But now you enter Trey Lance into the mix. Now, of course, they're working out all off season. They train together with the same speed coach. They work out together and they throw in the off season. So they're building up a rapport. And so that's going to transition to the field, but also just how they play. How they play, it meshes where how Jimmy played meshed with Deebo. Now, is there maybe something to that? I'm sure Deebo Samuel doesn't want to go earn a contract with Trey Lance as his quarterback. Why is that? Not because he doesn't like Trey Lance, because Trey Lance is going to spread the football around. Trey Lance isn't going to throw just into the middle of the field. He's not just going to throw those in-breaking routes and that's it. He will throw deep. He will throw to the sideline. And who is going to benefit in those areas? It is going to be Brandon Ayuk. So at least that's the thought process. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. I still see a world where Deebo Samuel is going to be productive. I still see a world that George Kittle is going to be productive. Of course, I think Brandon Ayuk is going to absolutely take that next step. I believe it's year 3, right? So we saw what Deebo did in year 3. Now we're going to see what Ayuk does in year 3 with a quarterback that fits his skill set and that will actually throw him the football. I think if you guys play fantasy, then you're probably going to get a and it all depends because I think this thought process that we're talking about is going to transition and people are going to start thinking the same thing. Brandon Ayuk is going to have a big year. So going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out, especially if Deebo is going to hold out or what. Going to be very interesting. Shout out JC. We see my day 2 boy back from vacation. Hope you had a phenomenal time with your family, my boy. Feeling refreshed, ready to go. Fire draft. Let's go. Look at Joel watching from Guam. Let's go. SDS worldwide. Shout out the squad. All right, let's talk a little draft. All right, I think we're good. I just wanted to ask that question. It's been something I've been thinking about, especially with all the Deebo stuff going on. I just wanted to is Deebo in for a down year? Is he going to be able to replicate what he did last year? I don't know. I don't think they're going to use him as a running back anymore or as much because they needed to out of injury necessity. Going to be interesting. All right. What else are we going to talk? Let's talk about this. The draft. You guys ready for some draft talk? Hopefully, I wonder if Aloha Smitty's in here. I had to give Aloha Smitty a shout out today. The dude he's been telling me to look at for months got a tryout today with the San Francisco 49ers because he was telling me he'd be great fit as a returner. And they did it. They brought him in here. But let's talk some draft. Obviously, if you've been in the lives when we were doing there he is. Shout out Aloha Smitty. My boy stonks to the moon. I'm blanking on his name right now, the actual prospect. Let me pull it up here. Let me pull it up here. Hold on one second. Yeah, here it is. I want to get it up. Hold up. I want to get it up. I had to give a shout out to the boy Aloha Smitty because he's been telling me for a minute now. Be on the lookout for Calvin Turner, wide receiver, running back. Don't forget specialist, return specialist out of Hawaii. Brought him in for a tryout, but I did have to shout out Aloha Smitty because he's been trying to put me on to this boy for a minute. So I had to shout him out on Twitter. So shout out Aloha Smitty. That's a dub. My boy, that's like pretty much the only prospect I think he's talked about. And we got him onto the 49ers, at least in a tryout basis. So shout out Smitty. What a legend. But I just wanted to share that really quick. I thought that was funny. I got hyped when I saw that. Smitty was the first person I thought of. I was like, oh yeah, Smitty's hyped. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the picks. I want to go through actually. Oh, why is my story unavailable? Okay. I'm gonna go to 49ers edits. He had a nice, is it 49er edits? He had a nice list of the undrafted free agents that we brought in. Here we go. Nope. Where'd it go? Nope. Here it is. So we're going to start with the undrafted free agents. We haven't talked about these guys yet, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited. What did you guys think about this undrafted free agent class? I came away extremely excited. I liked the draft. I thought it was a good draft. I didn't think it was a great draft. I didn't think it was like just like this masterful, just insanely crazy good. Like it was a good draft, don't get me wrong. But when they started announcing the undrafted free agents, dude, I was going hyped. I was going dumb. I was like going Stewie dumb. I was super, super excited because, as you know, the guy that I would have taken in the third round, if you would have told me that the San Francisco 49ers took Donovan West out of Arizona State at pick 93, I would have been through the moon. I would have been through the moon with Donovan West at 93. You know what they did? They held pat. They held pat. Oh yeah, don't forget. I think he had posted. I think Edits had posted this before. Jordan Mason had popped up onto the board, but Jordan Mason is a running back that they're going to be bringing in. Justin's been posting some clips. It's really nice. But Donovan West, I mean, chef's kiss. I love the fact that they gave him $100,000 guaranteed. We talked about this a little bit. When you start to look at how undrafted free agency works, it's recruiting session. It's now these players chose to come to the 49ers. So how do they recruit? They give them guaranteed money. Typically undrafted free agents won't get a lot of money, but when you see a guy like Donovan West collect 100K guaranteed, that tells you that they like him. And that tells you that they have a very strong thought process to keep him around. So the fact that they brought in Donovan West, a guy that I would have been happy if they took him in the third round, they brought him in as an undrafted free agent. This dude has an opportunity. If Alex Mack retires and they keep Brunskill at right guard, he has an opportunity to start. He has an opportunity to start this year. I'm not going to say he should start this year, but he has an opportunity if Alex Mack retires. So I absolutely love that pick. A plus 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 on Donovan West. The Hive is buzzing. I was so happy. when I saw that news come across that they were able to get Donovan West. The other offensive lineman, Jason Poe out of Mercer. Oh boy, if you have not watched him yet, wait, maybe we can pull up a little. Maybe we can pull up a little here. Hold on. Let's pull up some Poe, and I'll show you why I'm hyped. And I won't be surprised if you guys are a little bit hyped too. Because this guy can move. And if you know anything about me and you know anything about the way I talk about offensive linemen, you got to be able to move. If you can't move with fluidity, I don't want you. Now, there's nothing against you. You could be a really good offensive lineman and you could play pretty solid and maybe power schemes and things like that. But if you can't move, I'm sorry. I don't want you on my team. And so I'm very intrigued. I'll be honest, I did not watch him leading up to the draft. I kind of wish I did. But it doesn't matter. He's on the squad now. And so I found this clip. Someone had sent it to me on Twitter. I forget exactly who, but you can kind of he called himself center slash fullback. And here you got the boy catching passes out the backfield. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't necessarily want him at fullback. I want him at guard. And this is why I actually don't want him at guard. I want him at center. Again, the size could be an issue, but again, if you can hold your ground and you have the strength, that's all that matters. And when this guy gets moving, he moves so fast, and he is an freaking master class as a puller. I mean, this is Alabama. He is dropping Alabama defensive linemen at 6'1", 300 pounds. I don't see him as a guard in the NFL. I see him solely as a center. And if they do want to try him out at fullback, go for it. Go for it. But this dude has movement skills, and you can see how he uses that movement ability and speed to demolish these boys. So I love this pick, man. I freaking love this pick. You can make this work. Now we'll see how he lasts, and how he stands up against the Javon Kinlaws, against the Eric Armsteads of the world. Just these big, huge defensive tackles at the NFL level, the Kenny Clarks, guys like that. But when you see this man get in space, it is a sight to behold. And he gets guys on the ground. He's nasty. You can see the motor. He doesn't stop moving. So we talk about size. Like, yes, size is going to be taken into consideration. But again, certain guys can play, certain guys can't. I've played with some short offensive linemen. I considered myself a short offensive lineman. You can either play or you can't. And when you got guys like this who got speed and then can bring the power behind it, like look at this trap right here. Did he just trap this dude out the club? Easy. Gunk. I love this, man. Look at the speed. That is real speed right there. It is real speed. So again, I see him profile as a center. Again, leverage wins on the interior. So I don't mind that he's small, but I love the speed. I love the quickness. I love the nastiness. I like this pick a lot. So the 49ers were able to get me Jason Poe. They're able to get me Donovan West as undrafted free agents. I mean, look at this footwork. Look at that footwork, bro. Like, this is what I talked about. Like this, you find me guys who can move. Just watch the footwork. Just watch the footwork. Watch how clean, crisp. Look at that. Leverage, leverage, leverage. Ooh, boy. Daddy likey. Look at that. I love it. Now, if this dude was 6'3", 6'4", moving like that, this is like a second round draft pick. like just because he's 6'1" is the only reason why he went undrafted and he went to a small school. Look at the feet, bro. Chop, 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 chop. Out of there, out of there, out of there. Gone. Let's go. I mean, look at how fast he moves. Look at that pull step. He's out of there. I love it. I love the speed. I love if I have an offensive line, if it was up to me to construct an offensive line, every single one of them, my goal would be to move like this. I would have the most athletic offensive line in the NFL. That's how I would do it. And when you look at the San Francisco 49ers and you look at these draft prospects that they brought in, that appears to be exactly what they're doing. Because if we continue on the offensive line train and we look at the other offensive linemen that they've taken in Spencer Burford and in Zakel, the name that I'm going to butcher for all of eternity. These are athletic guys. They can move well. Again, I've really come to love the I like the Burford pick, but I've really come to love the Zakel pick. Again, you guys know that I'm a huge Daniel Brunskill fan. I love the reason why I'm a huge Daniel Brunskill fan because he can move. He can move extremely well. Sideline to sideline, he moves very, very, very well. And at 6'6", 315 pounds, this guy can move. So what I'm really, really excited about is to see his transition to center or guard. I think they're going to try him out at center. Again, if you guys were watching the draft reaction live, these are all the same things that I said when we threw up the tape and got our first impression on him. When John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan spoke about him, they spoke about this is a guy that's been on their radar for 4 years. They speak about him only as an interior offensive lineman, which is exactly what I saw with my first impression. So I see him as a guard center, but I would love to see him at center. I would love to see what he could do. Again, he has good size, 6'6", 315 pounds, but he can move. And he's got fluid hips, fluid feet. He's really good at shooting his head across. He's good at reach blocking. He's good at getting to second level. Those are all the things that you need to be able to do in this zone scheme. You have to be able to move. Power's nice and all, but you have to be able to move. So what has been very interesting too, when you look at the Burford pick, is they also talk about him as an interior offensive lineman. So after they made all these picks, after they took these guys and they grabbed them on the board, they didn't grab any tackles. When you listen, other than Sam Schluter out of Minnesota, that they got as an undrafted free agent, who does look like he profiles as a tackle. Other than that, all these offensive linemen that they have gotten are interior offensive linemen. So to me, that tells me about the future of Brunskill, tells me about the future of Alex Mack. It also tells me about Aaron Banks. It also tells me about Aaron Banks. It also tells me about Jalen Moore. So to me, the way I see this particular class, again, the San Francisco 49ers have never brought in this many offensive linemen like this, at least that I can remember since 2017. This will be the second draft that they've gone 2 offensive linemen in a row. Again, last year they went Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore. This year they go Buford and Zakel. Before that, you'd be lucky to get an offensive lineman drafted by the 49ers. So it would be very, very interesting. I can't wait. This is the thing that I am most excited about. I am extremely excited now to get to camp, and I am very excited to see what this offensive line looks like because it is a crowded room. This is a crowded offensive line room, and I am very happy about that because we talk about it all the time. competition breeds excellence in any walk of life, but of course, most importantly, in football. When you bring in competition and you got someone nipping at your heels to take your job, you better work your ass off or else you're going to lose that job. You better be on point or else you're going to lose your job. So when you have that type of mentality, everyone just works better. And you bring in a guy of good quality, it forces the guy who's already there to be like, okay, I'm on notice and I can see who's gunning for my job. I got to get after it. I got to get after it. So, Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, it's going to be very interesting to see how this camp plays out because obviously we know Trent Williams at left tackle, not going anywhere. Left guard, wide open. Center, potentially wide open. Right guard could be Brunskill. Brunskill could be center. Starting right tackle for at the first portion of the year could be up in the air. We don't know. We're going to have to wait till training camp to see what Mike McGlinchey's looking like, if he's healthy and if he's ready to go. So I'm excited. I love the competition. I love the depth. I love everything that they've done here with the offensive line. Again, the Burford pick, I would have liked to see them go Zach Tom here. I would have liked to see them go Zach Tom here. To me, he was more technically polished than Burford, but Burford still, I think he is a larger human with more natural, I guess, explosion and kind of baseline traits. When you look at Zach Tom, I was a little bit more slender. So I always looked at Zach Tom as an offensive tackle, offensive guard hybrid. I thought he was more technically polished than Burford, which I always lean for I'm always going to go for the technically polished guys over the traits guys. Or the raw physicality guys. Same thing applied to the Sewell Slater debate. I was Slater 100% because he had the technique to go with the athletic ability. So he has the athletic ability. He has the movement skills. Just needs to. I just see things he needs to tighten up a little bit in regards to technique, but you kick him inside. Again, I didn't love the pick when I thought it was an offensive tackle. I was like, I don't love him at tackle. And one of the first things that I said when I saw it, I was like, this guy looks like a guard to me. I don't see him as a tackle in the NFL. Again, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch came to the podium and said exactly that. He is going to be a guard. Zakel is going to be a guard, potentially center. So you look at what they've done. They've brought in 4 legitimate interior offensive linemen who are really going to get after it this year, and I'm really excited. Again, if Mac stays, that's a plus. That's a huge plus. We want Mac to be here, but if he's not, then I'm okay at least with the depth that they've added here and to see what the competition is going to look like. I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy about this offensive line room. I'm pretty happy. How are you guys liking the offensive line moves that they've made? You feel comfortable with Burford? You feel comfortable with Zakel? Comfortable with Donovan West, Jason Poe, Schluter? I feel pretty good about it. I can't lie. And I'm also too, again, not concerned that they didn't go tackle because they have School coming back off of injury. They have Colton McKivitz, who proved he can be a spot starter, and I feel pretty good about that. I didn't see any need for them to go tackle. So I like it. I like it a lot. Lax says School and Brunskill competing for swing tackle. No, if you ask me, if you ask me, Brunskill's solidified as a starter. It's just where is he going to start? Again, you also have to recall they're getting immense value. They're getting immense value for Brunskill. They want Brunskill to start because then if Brunskill starts, plays good, and gets a decent contract, he will count against the comp pick formula. So you want that to happen. You want Brunskill to play. You want him to play. He's gonna, I believe he will be an unrestricted free agent. I view this pick right here, this guy to me is Brunskill 2.0. So we've seen it before. Elijah Mitchell, kind of in that same mold of Raheem Mostert. Aaron Banks, kind of in that same mold of Laken Tomlinson. You can see the trend where we talk about archetypes all the time. There's a specific archetype in player that you can find. This is the Daniel Brunskill archetype. Zakel moves just like Brunskill. They're very similar in size. I believe they have the same thought process for what they're going to be able to do. So okay, well, what does that mean? Well, maybe they are getting ready for Daniel Brunskill to be able to essentially leave next year. So if that's the case, you want Daniel Brunskill to play and you want him to play well. And if he gets a good contract from someone else, he will count against the comp pick situation. So I'm very excited. And again, people don't like Brunskill. I like Brunskill. You go back, I was only able to get through one half of the NFC Championship game in studying the tape, but I will tell you, it was Trent Williams and Daniel Brunskill. They were the top two offensive linemen playing in that game. Daniel Brunskill at the second half of the year was arguably the second best offensive lineman next to Trent Williams. A lot of people are going to hate on him because they focus on the handful of times that he gets beat in one-on-one matchups and pass protection. But you cannot discount what Daniel Brunskill does in the run game. He is phenomenal and does not get enough credit. Also, too, Daniel Brunskill does not lose on stunts. He does not lose on stunts. You could throw a million different type of blitz packages at Brunskill and he will not be phased. And that is an underrated aspect that the casual fan doesn't understand how to quantify. He does not lose on stunts. And that is huge. One-on-one against powerful interior defensive tackles, yeah, he's going to have a little hard time. But everything else he does really, really well. He does really, really well. And again, people are going to focus on what they want to focus on. As someone who watched probably 98% of every snap that Daniel Brunskill took with intentional focus on him, I feel pretty good about him. So I don't think he's competing for a swing tackle. He is a starter. It's going to be Trent and it's going to be Brunskill locked in as starters. Obviously, McGlinchey's going to start when he comes back. We're going to figure out who that other center or potential guards are. How I kind of see it, they're going to potentially kick Brunskill down to center. They might put Zakel at right guard, and they might take Buford and put him at left guard. I could see that. There's a range of outcome that exists where I could see that line looking like that. I could see it be Trent Williams. I could see Buford winning out in camp for left guard. I could see them kicking Brunskill down to center. And then I could see Zakel coming in and starting at right guard, or maybe a McKivitz or something like that. It's going to be very interesting. That's why I can't wait. As an offensive line guy, very, very excited about it. Again, Brendel is here. I think he's been a very consistent center, but I think some of these other guys have some a little bit higher skill sets. So it's going to be very interesting. And the reason why McGlinchey is, one, because they love McGlinchey in that building, but two, he's owed $10 million. You're going to play McGlinchey if you can. You gotta get your money's worth there. You're coming out of pocket over $10 million for McGlinchey this season. You gotta see what he can do. You gotta see how he can rebound. You gotta see if you can get him potentially on a second contract. You have to see what he can do. So they're not going to bench McGlinchey unless they have to. And I can tell you right now, they don't want to do that. I don't want them to do that. I want to see McGlinchey come in, and I want to see a rebound tour from McGlinchey. But I'm excited for this group. Again, people forget how legit McGlinchey and Brunskill were doing when it was the two of them. Again, those two did not lose on a stunt. I watched for 6, 7, 8 weeks. Defenses throw whatever they could at McGlinchey and Brunskill, and they would just pass everything off. They were at 100% on point. But yes, I could talk about offensive line all day. What else do we want to talk about? What other picks do we want to talk about? Let's see. I'm so happy about the offensive line, though. So freaking happy. I think it's a great group. Again, just solidified with the additions through free agency. Leon O'Neal. Yeah, let's talk about Leon. So Leon O'Neal was a fan favorite amongst 49er fans. They were able to get him to the Niners. What I love about this is he wants to be here just as much fans want him to be here. So I think there's a world that exists. Again, you look at the depth. We don't have a ton of depth, but Leon O'Neal does feel like he has a shot at maybe cracking the roster. Maybe. Maybe. I think an injury would have to occur. Just based on sheer numbers, the 49ers will typically keep 4 safeties, but hey, maybe a world exists where Tarvarius Moore doesn't bounce back like we would hope, and Leon O'Neal takes his spot. I had put it out on Twitter not too long or before the draft, and I've talked about it on this show that I had originally thought safety would have been the second ranked position need heading into this draft. But after I had put that out there, I had thought about it further. And then I went and did some research into how much they actually gave George Odom. And when I did my research and I came out the back end of it, and I realized they almost quadrupled what George Odom got this year based on what Kwaski was playing on last year. I was like, you know what? I actually think they like Odom a lot more than anyone else's. I think when 49er fans saw Odom get paid or got signed, they're like, oh, special teamer. We got an all-pro gunner, right? I think that's how a lot of people thought of it. When I dove into the money and I dove into the contract, because like I said, I'll never forget when John Lynch said this. He said, these players will listen to all these things that we have to say. They don't care what we say. They care who we pay. And when he said that, and I think he said that last offseason, I was like, wow. I've heard other people talk about that, like paying attention to the money. But when I heard the general manager say those players in that locker room don't listen to what we say, they watch who we pay. And I was like, that's an interesting nugget. So I've kept that with me. And with that nugget, I hopped into Odom's, into his money. And they gave him some good money. They gave him some good money. So that money then made me change my thought process to I actually think they paid Odom to be the starter. That's what I think. I think they want value at that position. I don't think they believe that they have to pay a Tyrann Mathieu, what was it, 3 years, 33 million. They paid Odom 3 years, 10 million. So what's going to be very interesting now is we can use that as a baseline. Again, Tyrann Mathieu, a all pro, like a pro bowler, a legitimate top tier talent in the NFL, getting 3 years, 33 million from the Saints. Well, how is he going to stack up against George Odom, 25-year-old, uh, getting 3 years, 10 million? So I'm gonna be watching those two, and I want to see how those productions stack. Because if Odom comes in and balls, they're getting immense value at that position. And to me, them not selecting a safety at all in the draft tells me that they have high belief in Odom. So it kind of confirmed what I had thought heading into this draft, is that they did pay him to be the starter. And that's how I think it is. They paid Odom to be the starter. So I believe when we go out into training camp, what we're going to see, we'll even see this in OTAs, or mandatory mini camp, is we're going to see Jimmy Ward and we're going to see Odom starting as your two safeties in that defensive backfield. So it's going to be interesting. Again, I believe Talanoa Hufanga is going to take a step forward. I know, a lot of people will comment on his speed. But I think if you look at Leon O'Neal, I think he's slower than Talanoa Hufanga when it comes to 40 times. Again, playing safety is more than just being fast. It's about being smart and being able to anticipate and be able to jump plays. So I think that's where Talanoa is really strong at, and really excited to see what the safety room looks like. Ellis says, "Can we get 150 likes?" I agree. Smash that like button if you haven't already. We're talking NFL draft. Going to be interesting to see what happens with Tarvarius Moore. Will he be able to bounce back from the Achilles? The interesting thing about Tarvarius Moore is he has always been a height, weight, speed guy. He's been a traits guy. He's never been that cerebral guy. He's never been that, like, I know everything that's going on. I'm going to be in the exact right spot. That's where he struggles the most. He is, though, a long, lengthy, fast, strong, good tackler. But where Tarvarius has struggled is just being in position, just being where he's supposed to be, or being able to anticipate where he's supposed to be. He's got burned a lot over his time with the 49ers. Now, one of the last times we saw him, right? Was it? No, we saw him in 2020. He had a good Super Bowl, if you guys remember. He had a good Super Bowl, but he didn't really do much in 2020. And then he got hurt in training camp last year. So we're going to find out. And if you look at kind of the guys that they're going after more, I think, cerebral guys. So going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a battle between Tarvarius Moore and Leon O'Neal. I'm excited to see what Leon O'Neal brings. I like his mentality. I like his energy. I think he could be a guy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. Marcellus says O'Neal's plays faster than his time, speed. I agree. I think Talanoa is like that too. I just think, Talanoa, we saw him get dusted a little bit at times as a rookie, but I also think we have to remind ourselves he was a rookie and he was a 5th-round rookie. So let's take our time on Talanoa. I think the 49ers are. I think the 49ers believe in George Odom. And so that's why there's only one safety as an undrafted free agent, and they didn't draft any safeties when they could have. They could have had a pick of some legitimate safeties at 93. They decided to go running back instead. So It's awesome so far. When we look at these guys, love this. I love these three. These three are my favorite undrafted free agent signings. Um, I think Donovan West has a chance to make the roster. I think Jason Poe will be a perfect practice squad candidate, a guy that can develop on this team and potentially be a guy. Jeremiah Gemmel is a guy that I thought would get drafted. He didn't, and the 49ers are able to get him out of North Carolina. If there's one thing that I have learned about my time of covering the San Francisco 49ers, these son of a guns know how to develop and spot talent at the linebacker position. So when I see Jeremiah, I'm thinking Aziz Al-Shaair. I'm thinking, maybe a little, DFF, I think could get a little bit better, but he's been on this team for a while. When you go back to last year, you go back to the guy that they took out of Ohio State. Um, they couldn't even keep him on the practice squad. New York Giants swooped him up, added him to the active roster. Jonas Griffith, they trade to the Broncos for a seventh round conditional pick that turned into a sixth because he started every game for them and became one of their best players on defense. Jonas Griffith, if you remember, was a guy that I loved in training camp. I did not. I was very upset to see Jonas Griffith get traded because he was one of the best linebackers out there on the field. But we understood it was a numbers game, and they opted to keep Marcel Harris, which I thought was a bad decision. Um, I thought that was a bad decision. I would have liked to see them keep Jonas Griffith, get rid of Marcel Harris because they didn't even retain Marcel Harris. So Jonas Griffith would be going into his third year. He wouldn't be a free agent. Although they were able to get draft pick compensation, and Marcellus says Griffith traded that turned into Kalai Davis. Is King Geo in here, by the way? Hopefully King Geo's watching, because we'll do an entire segment on why Davis is just like DJ Jones just for King Geo. Just for King Geo alone. I hope he's in here. He's probably lurking, waiting for me to bring him up. But yeah. So the 49ers have done a phenomenal job being able to identify undrafted free agents at linebacker. So Jeremiah, he's another guy that fits that role. Seagun, I haven't watched yet. He could be a similar guy that fits into that role. I haven't watched enough of him yet. But the 49ers are also able to add two playmakers at the wide receiver position, and Tay Martin out of Oklahoma State and Taysir Mack out of Pittsburgh. I still have a little bit more scouting to do on these guys, but Taysir Mack, I don't know, he just reminded me of Kendrick Bourne for some reason. I just got Kendrick Bourne vibes from him. I got to see more to be able to see if that's a real vibe or not, but just vibe alone. I got a little Kendrick Bourne vibes. We'll see though. We'll see. I still have to watch a couple of these guys to get a better idea of. Justin is saying, Brad, do you think Jordan Mason can compete for that hasty role? Jordan Mason was brought in on a tryout basis, but from what I've seen from the clips that Justin has posted, it's funny. He reminds me of Hasty. It was one of the first things that I saw. I was like, that guy looks like Hasty. And how they use Hasty. So I absolutely think they could if they are ready to potentially see for other options. He could absolutely come in and come after Hasty in that regard. So I don't know. Overall, though, again, we've talked plenty about Drake Jackson, but I'll touch on it. Love this pick. Again, first round talent you get at 61. If the 49ers were sitting at what was their original pick? Was it 29 that they traded to the Dolphins in the deal for Trey Lance? If the 49ers were sitting at 29 and they still had that first round draft pick and they took Drake Jackson at 29, I would have been just as happy. So that's how much I like this pick. Again, if they took Drake Jackson at pick 29 in the first round, I would have been happy with that pick. That's actually where I thought he would go. I thought he would be a fringe first rounder. The fact that he fell to 61 to the San Francisco 49ers, absolutely huge value. So it just becomes even better value and even a better pick with where they were able to get him. I thought it was interesting the way John Lynch talked about trading and or not trading up, because this particular draft class was the first time they didn't make any trades. And I felt like that's kind of by design. I felt like they knew going in. The way he talked about it and the way he said it was kind of like, we wanted to trade up, but we weren't allowed to. That's kind of how I took it. I took it as like, you know what? We wanted to trade up. We wanted to move all up and down the board. But guess what? We gave up a whole lot to go get Trey Lance. We gave up a whole lot to go get Trey Lance, to not start him last year, to go through all that drama of last year. They're like, you're not getting any more picks to move up. You're not giving away anything else to go get up. They're like, nope. I felt like Jed and Parag came down into Lynch and Shanny and Adam Peters' office and like, listen, guys, you ain't moving anywhere. Like you traded so much last year to go get Trey Lance. You sit unless you get more draft capital from trading from Jimmy or trading Deebo. You ain't moving. You sit. You wait. You sit on those hands and you just sit. And it actually worked out to the 49ers' benefit. It actually worked out to the 49ers' benefit, because now they better hope that Drake Jackson doesn't turn out, because the league is going to be sweating. If you can get two of these legitimate edge rushers and Nick Bosa and Drake Jackson on the field at the same time, again, you guys know I was high on Brian Burns. You guys know I was big of shocker, right? Oh, Brad liked Brian Burns, who I never heard that before. Well, guess what? I am okay now laying this off season's. I'm not saying it's forever going to die, but we are going to lay to rest this off season's pursuit of Brian Burns. It was a blast. I had so much fun. I'll never give up on trying to get Brian Burns to the San Francisco 49ers ever. But for this year, with them going out and getting me Drake Jackson, thank you, 49ers. Thank you. Thank you for getting me a long edge defender to put on the opposite side of Nick Bosa with speed. Thank you. Thank you. Now, is he raw? Yes. Is he going to be just as fast as Brian? Maybe not. But there's still tons of upside here. This is a guy that can play base down. He can play in a situational pass rusher role. So I like it. I'm never giving the Brian Burns hive will never die, but I don't need them necessarily to go get me him this year. Next year, oh baby, yes sir, we're gonna bring him in. So this was an initial pick. This was an initial pick that I think fans did not like. Has that changed at all? Do you still not like Brian Burns? Or, excuse, got Brian Burns on my mind. Do you still not like TDP? Or, or are you starting to warm up to him a little bit? You're starting to warm up to him a little bit. Again, you might have Trey Sermon PTSD on the brain, but is TDP warming up? Are you warming up to TDP yet? I am. I don't love where we took him. I don't love that price tag. But also, when I'm now evaluating a draft, I don't care where you took him. I'm just looking again. Someone, I think it was Karan on Twitter who said this to me, and I was like, "You're 100% right." He he said because I comment I think he had posted a thread of TDP, and let's face it, TDP looks nice. He really does. And I said once we get over where he was drafted, I think we're gonna really like this pick. Like just once we get over the simple fact of where he was selected, we will get over this pick. His response was just pretend they took Donovan West at 93 and TDP was undrafted. And he's like, you would feel, just imagine that. I was like, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If the San Francisco 49ers took Donovan West, who they got as an undrafted free agent at 93, I would have been doing hula hoops. I would have been doing jumping jacks. I've been running around, streaking through the streets. I would have been that excited. So I was like, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it. Like if it for me, again, someone who is very high on Donovan West, who would have taken him at 93, at 105. If you just swap their selections, do you feel any different? So, kind of how I'm looking at it now, I don't really care where they were taken because we got who we got. We got who we got. We see all the list of players, and as of right now, again, a lot of people wanted O'Neal. If you would have taken O'Neal in the 5th round over Womack, I'm sure if you swap them, you took O'Neal in the 5th round and you got Womack as an undrafted free agent, I'm sure that would change the perception and the thoughts of how some people feel. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Now we just look at the list of prospects. They got who they got. And when you look at who they got, I'm pretty happy about it. And with TDP, I think we're seeing the 49ers try to kind of transition a little bit away from the outside zone, a little bit. Because when you watch this man, like he knows how to execute the inside run very well. The vision that he brings, the cuts, the way he's able to set up blocks. Again, if I'm an offensive lineman and my running back knows how to set me up for success, I will I will take this man and protect him at all costs. If my running backs can make me look good, then we're going to have a great relationship. If I have running backs that make me look stupid even though I'm doing my job, we're going to have a problem. So, I think that's a kind of clear indicator between Trey Sermon and TDP. Trey Sermon got his offensive line in trouble a lot with not being able to set up blocks, not being able to cut back with correct timing and hit holes with proper timing. TDP looks like that's what he does best. It looks like he's able to have patience at the line of scrimmage. He'll kind of veer out to the left. You'll see linebackers and safeties flow with him to the left, understanding that his offensive linemen are on a track. And then once he gets them there, he will cut inside. Huh. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry. I had to make sure that wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo news. Had to make sure that wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo news. Okay, back. No news. Squirrel, just a squirrel. Don't mind the squirrel. Squirrel. Um. So essentially, what I'm trying to say, though, yes, reset. Doop. I need a George Kittle reset tattoo. So anytime a squirrel comes across, I smack it and we reset, get back on track. Um, Stinking squirrels, bro. All right, reset. TDP. Why he's good, why we like him, why he's a little bit different than Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon struggles with setting up blocks. Again, he's powerful. He has athletic ability. That's not the problem. With Trey Sermon, it's the ability to set up his blocks and then be able to cut off them, anticipate holes, be patient, hit the holes, cut back. That's where he struggled. TDP, that looks like it's in his DNA. So not only does it look like in his DNA, he looks more physical than Trey Sermon. So it's going to be interesting to see what that competition looks like, because it does feel like they said, you know what, we're hitting the 49ers, like we're hitting the reset button on Trey Sermon. We're going to go in a completely different direction. Again, they have a different running back coach. They have a different run game coordinator. It's going to be very interesting. They have a different coaching staff, so different run game philosophies will be applied this year. So TDP could be in for a big year, especially with Elijah Mitchell. And it really does feel like these two guys are going to be relied on heavily. When you look at Jeff Wilson, hopefully Jeff Wilson can get healthy. I felt for Jeff Wilson last year because Jeff Wilson just had to scrap and claw his way to get back on the field after tearing his meniscus in freaking OTAs. So I don't think we ever saw a 100% Jeff Wilson. We probably saw him at best at like 80%, at like 80%. So with Jeff Wilson and him hopefully having a healthy and productive offseason, and if you've seen any of the highlight or any of the workout clips that Jeff Wilson has been posting, you get a lot of like, you're like, oh, he's looking good. That those cuts are coming back. You're starting to see some of that explosiveness with Jeff, where we just missed that from Hefe, because again, you have to remind yourself he was coming back from injury mid-year and he forced himself to get back onto the field. So I think with Wilson getting healthy, the hope is that he can stay healthy, maintain that health through OTAs, through minicamp, through training camp. So actually heading into the year, he's actually ready to go. He was not ready last year, and you could see it. He still had the vision and he still had that ability, but he didn't have that explosiveness. He didn't have that burst that we've seen before. And he was coming back from a severe knee injury. So now you look at the running back room and you look at the overall health of the running back room. I feel pretty good about it. And again, I'm liking the TDP pick. I didn't like where he was selected, admittedly so. Didn't like seeing TDP, um, in that category of being a 93rd top 100 pick for the 49ers, because I think we've been so ingrained to believe that Shanahan can turn any undrafted free agent into a capable starter in the NFL, which, again, that's what Jeff Wilson is. That's exactly who we're talking about, a former undrafted free agent who has potential to be a heavy component in this running back room. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think TDP is a welcome piece. And again, what did we say earlier? Competition breeds excellence. So Trey Sermon, my boy, I was high on you, probably a little just too much hype, but it's time to show what you're made of, or else that job's gone. So we've seen it crystal clear that Yeah, where you get drafted can matter, but ultimately it doesn't matter. They're going to play who they think can play, um, and that's what it comes down to. Can we talk about this guy? How are we feeling about this guy? How are we feeling after we've heard Shanahan, Lynch talk about this guy? How are we feeling about Danny Gray? Is the Danny Gray hive buzzing? Are we buzzing with the Danny Gray? Are we? We like this. I loved hearing. I swear to you, without like truly knowing how Kyle or Adam Peters or how any of these guys evaluate, I feel pretty damn confident that we see and we scout pretty damn similar. Like I can't say it any other way. The way that I viewed Danny Gray, if you go look anywhere, go look at draft sites, go look at people who are paid to do this. How many people were hyping up Danny Gray? How many people were hyping up Danny Gray? They said Danny Gray was like one of five, like I forget what they called it. They have this name for like how they identify certain prospects as like this, like the top tier prospect, or like the top guys that they want. He was like one of five in this class. And I'm just like, man, no one ever who else was posting about this guy? Who else? They're saying PFF was pretty high on him. Well, I guess I missed that hype. Um, I was pretty excited about this one because again, I stumbled onto Danny Gray. I was actually scouting Reggie Robertson, his teammate. Um, and then I was like, who's number five? And that's how that got started. And then the Danny Gray hive was buzzing. Again, everyone's going to focus on his 4.33 speed. I didn't even know he ran a 4.33 when I was watching him. Didn't even know that. When I was watching him, I that was the last thing on my mind was how fast a 40 he ran. What I saw was a guy who can make contested catches, who can run the routes, he could do the yak, he could take the top off of any defense. But again, when you see 4.33, you think straight line. Again, I see people talking about Goodwin. That actually could be kind of a decent comp because at one point, Goodwin for a stretch period of time was actually pretty damn solid at being a legitimate wide receiver. Um, so when I see Danny Gray, I see a guy who's going to be able to fit. And when we talk who's going to benefit the most from a skill set that Trey Lance has, Danny Gray is one of these guys. Danny Gray is going to be one of these guys who can stretch the field. He can run every route on the route tree. He's going to be able to do it short to intermediate. He's going to be able to do it down the seam. He's going to be able to do it outside the numbers. He's going to be able to win in a bunch of different ways. And I also think he's going to be able to win behind the line of scrimmage. He's going to be one of these guys you could throw a bubble screen to. You can hit him with an end around. You can hit him in potentially this Deebo role, this wide back role. Like you can use this. He's a football player. I talk about that all the time, man. You either can play football or you can't. You're either one dimensional or you're not. This guy is not one dimensional. He has multiple facets to his game, and he's good at multiple things. Again, first and foremost, he's a wide receiver. He is a wide receiver. He's going to go up. He's going to high point the football. He's going to battle for the ball. You can tell he has that mentality. You can tell he's a dog. You can tell, and those are the type of wide receivers that I always gravitate towards. I'm always going to gravitate towards a wide receiver who has that mentality of that's my ball. When the air is in the when the ball is in the air, I want a guy who's going to say that's my football. And that's exactly what I see from Danny Gray. Exactly why I loved him as a prospect. Um, we got the legendary reaction video when the 49ers drafted Danny Gray. But I'm very, very happy, not only with the selection, but I'm very happy to hear how they speak about him. I'm very happy to hear that, again, just another confidence booster and I guess a feather in the cap that I know what I'm doing when it comes to watching football and evaluating talent, because the same things that they are saying about him as a prospect were the same exact things that I saw that made me attracted to him and why I thought he would be a good fit for this team. So with Danny Gray, I look at a guy who's going to be able to come in and he's going to be able to be an impact right away, barring any setbacks with the playbook, because let's be honest, that's going to be his biggest hurdle. It's just learning the playbook, and getting into being able to understand that. Obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how he does as a blocker, and things of that nature. But he's a big effort guy. He's a guy that's going to go 100 miles an hour on every play. I think that's again why I think Kyle was attracted to him. Huge motor, huge effort, the mentality that I talked about. Plus, he has the rare traits that you're always looking for. So when we talk about these types of guys, we talk about them as a wide receiver. Even though he's a burner and he has that capability, he is not defined just by his speed. He is a wide receiver. He will be able to go over the middle and turn a slant into a 70-yard house call. He will be able to run straight up the seam and take the top off of any defense. Trey Lance will be able to throw up a 50-50 ball to him in press man coverage, and he will be able to come down with the football. So that's why I like him. He's going to be a guy that I think will be able to contribute in multiple ways. And one, he could definitely make an impact as a returner. I think for him to be able to get I don't think he's going to come out the gates on fire, but I think how you start is you start him as a returner. Start him as our kick returner, start him as our punt returner. Let him know that we want you to win this job first. And then we're going to continue to work you in to the lineup, because let's face it, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, we already have some pretty solid wide receivers. So I want this guy to get on the field and make his impact known. We can use that skill set as a returner. We can also use Ray McLeod as a returner as well. So, but I want him to be in competition with that particular spot. So I like it. I like it a lot. Um, Definitely probably one of my favorite picks in the draft. I would say Drake Jackson. Ooh, I don't know. Drake Jackson and Danny Gray. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I didn't really see Drake Jackson as a guy that would be available. So the fact that he was there at 61, I felt like that's huge. That's house money right there. That's house money. So yeah, I think he might. So David said, "Don't lie, he's your favorite." Yeah, I think he might be my favorite. I think the Danny Gray pick's probably my favorite pick. Outside, I like the Zakel pick a lot. I think that's up there with one of my favorites. I'm not sleeping on the Fordham kid. I like that pick a lot. Um, let's see. Womack. How are we feeling about Womack? I think it's crystal clear that the San Francisco 49ers drafted yet another fifth round nickel cornerback. We understand K1's not there. We need depth at that position. We have to have it. Now, whether it's Diamador Lenore starting there, whether it's Womack starting there, we're going to find out. But again, another phenomenal competition that we're going to see play out in training camp. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what that looks like. I think Amateur Draft Scout, if you guys haven't already, he pulled together some highlights of Womack and he posted that on his channel. So if you want to go take a look at some clips from Womack, you can go to 49er Amateur Draft Scout for some of those clips. So he posted some of those, and you see the physicality, you see the nastiness, you see the guy who's got, the same things we talked about with, why I liked Marcus Jones out of Houston. Now, I didn't scout Womack going into this, but the same things apply. Plays bigger than his size would indicate, is tougher than his size would indicate, can do a lot of things that his size wouldn't indicate. So we like those guys. When you see that 5'9" frame, you might get a little nervous about it. But again, you gotta be able to play bigger than your frame suggests. And if you can do that, then we have no problems. Womack is going to be one of those types of guys. So it's going to be interesting to see what he looks like. Again, I haven't done a full study on him, so I can't sit here and say with my whole chest like I've done the full study and he's going to be this guy and this is what I think. I still have homework to do. I have the baseline traits. I've seen it. I see the upside. I do want to do more homework on this guy, but you see the traits. You can see, and some of the same things that they talked about him, in the pre-draft meeting and all those types of things. You can see it. It makes sense. So, and we needed. We knew we needed nickel. No K'Wan Williams anymore. Diamador Lenore. We saw him at the beginning of the year, and then we didn't really see him after that. So we're going to have to see who's going to come out on top. And we got some good competition now at the nickel corner. Again, I love it. I love the competition. It's also depth that we must have in that position. All of a sudden, our cornerback room's looking spicy, especially with the addition of Jason Verrett. Again, you got Charvarius Ward, aka Charmander West, in the building. You pair him with again Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley. You got Ambry Thomas heading into a second year. I like it. I like that cornerback room. I'm not going to lie. I like that cornerback room, and I feel even better about that quarterback room with Jason Verrett returning today. J-Tan says, Brad, I think you influenced John Lynch to pick Danny Gray. I think so too. I think so too. I think so too. I think I'm starting to think they low key check up on your boy. I think they low key check up on your boy. I told you guys about that time I walked by a 49er scout and he recognized me, right? So hey, they might be checking up on your boy. I think they do. Actually, I might know that they do. But it was funny. I'll tell it if you haven't heard it. I'll never forget. I was at the Senior Bowl. I somehow wound up on the player personnel side. So they had the stadium split down the middle. You had media on one side, and then you had scouts, GMs, coaches on the other. I somehow ended up on the coach scout side. And so like I had walked, I like literally like Adam Peters, we walked right past each other. I could have reached my hand out and gave him a high five. Walked past John Lynch multiple times. But it was funny on one of the passes because at the time, John Lynch was talking to the director of Senior Bowl scouting, Matt Nagy, and I walked by their scouts they were standing there, and I walked by them. And as I'm walking by, I can hear one of them say to the other guy, hey, that guy runs a 49er channel. I was like, oh, they recognize this ginger beard. I said, the scouts know who this boy is. They know who this boy is. They see me. So I thought that was funny. That was something that I'll never forget. I was like, I can't believe he just said that. I heard him. He was like, hey, I know that guy. And he basically just told another one of his scout buddies. And I was like, all right, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I doubt that I influence any of their picks. I doubt that I influence anything, but I thought it was cool that they knew who I was. But anyways, on to the next. Talked about this man already. My Brunskill 2.0. Love this pick. Where's King Geo? Where's King Geo at? King Geo in the chat? Were you guys here when we talked about this pick? So we were on. We did it. We had our live reaction show to the draft picks, and when they took Khalil, whatever Davis, um, I had said, "Oh, first clip." I saw one clip, and I was like, "That's DJ Jones 2.0." It's exactly what I said. I saw one clip. I said, "That's DJ Jones 2.0." Um, and King Geo was in the chat. Oh, how could you say that? He's not DJ Jones 2.0. He's not anything like DJ Jones. He's not anything like DJ Jones. What did John Lynch come out and say when they talked about this guy? They're like, "Oh, that's DJ Jones 2.0." I was like, don't mess with this ginger beard, bro. Hey, when it comes to football, don't mess with this ginger beard. I think it's clear. I feel confident enough that I know what the hell I'm talking about. I know how to watch. I know how to evaluate my guys. I know a lot of you guys be rocking with me, but it's just always funny when I get challenged on some certain things, and then you literally have uh, the GM come out and say after they take him, it's basically DJ Jones 2.0. But anyways, I digress. I think this is a good pick. I actually love this pick. Um, I think the value here, again, he's a guy who tore his ACL in October. So this is a value pick. It's a pick that you're not going to be expecting to contribute right away. And why would you? Look at the 49ers defensive line. They have so much depth and talent. You can stash this guy, let him heal, let him get back to form. He's a converted linebacker to defensive line. We talk about the squatty bodies all the time. If you are short, fast, strong defensive tackle, I like you. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be sizes in regards to, oh, I need a 6'6" behemoth. I need a 6'6" nose tackle. That's what I need. It's like, no, I don't. If you give me like just like Poe, right? Just like we talk about Jason Poe being 6'1", 300, he is the DJ Jones equivalent of an offensive lineman. Those guys can work if you find the right one that has good feet, good base, good, strength, and speed. You can mitigate size with the speed. If you're getting into these guys' pads before they can get off the line and you have the strength to basically come with that, you can mitigate being 6'1, 6'2 on the defensive line. So that's why DJ Jones was always so successful. He had an immensely good first step quickness. He had the strength and the moves to go with it. So it didn't matter that he was 6'1 and considered undersized. He just got 20 million guaranteed. Um, so he fits the mold of just like DJ Jones. So I'm pretty excited about that pick. I think it's gonna work out nicely. Um, this one, Tariq, I think Tariq became a fan favorite. I think a lot of people I think a lot of people are excited about this pick. I think a lot of people are excited about the value that they were able to get here. I think a lot of people are excited with the traits. I think a lot of people are excited about the upside. So, again, another cornerback that you add to the room who could play inside potentially, could play outside, could play multiple different roles. Hell, I wouldn't even be surprised if they could throw him back at safety a little bit. Maybe switch him over to safety. He seems like a guy that could be a little bit scheme diverse in regards to his frame. Feels like you could move him into different spots. Um, and he could potentially be successful. So a lot of people talked about the value of this pick. Some draft analysts had him pretty high up on their boards, and he slid to I think it was the 6th round. So great value. Again, you look at the 49ers cornerback room. stacked. They bring back Jason Verrett, stacked. They have this year so far is the exact opposite of last year. The exact opposite, where they seemingly felt like we don't need depth. Like that's kind of what it felt like. We don't need depth in the defensive back room. We don't need depth at safety. We don't need this. We don't need that. And you get into training camp, and they're literally in training camp having to bring bodies like off the street. And you're just like, this is bad. This is just bad. Like if we're in August and you're having to bring in like Clinton Dix, like into the first week of training camp because you don't have enough depth at the safety position. You're having to bring in Josh Norman because you don't have enough depth at the cornerback position. Like we could see it right away. It was a problem in training camp, and that was with Jason Verrett. That was with like a healthy Emmanuel Mosley. Like you could see the depth issues at training camp. And we saw that become a massive issue throughout the year. So what I love about this year is that they've like, hey, you learn a little bit. Hey, we didn't go into last year with tons of DB depth. We are making sure that we are going into this year with DB depth. And they add another one with Tariq. So I'm pretty happy. I like the pick. Lots of upside. Again, low risk, high reward. You get him at a great value. He can come in. I think he can play multiple roles. I think you can even convert him to safety potentially. And I think it's really nice. And then last but definitely not least, Mr. Irrelevant himself, Brock Purdy out of Iowa State. Were you guys confused by this pick? Were you okay with this pick? What was your initial thought process? I'm just interested to see what you guys think. Again, if you have watched my shows or even watched a couple of my live mocks, you would know how I feel about him. But I am interested to see what you guys thought about Mr. Irrelevant. Were you intrigued by the quarterback taken with the last pick? Oh yeah, here we go. Now we're talking. Next Tom Brady on deck. Poetic that a quarterback went last overall. QB1. Brunel said, "What are we doing?" Hold on. Ray said, "I'm okay with Purdy drafted. When he's going to be in the league for a long, long time." Shanny likes to have 3 on the roster. See Jimmy Mullins Bethard. Draco says, "Why? I don't know, but they did." Jesus says, "This mean Jimmy gone?" Jimmy who? Gonna beat out Jimmy. Damn, you guys are ruthless. I like this pick. I've talked about him before. I started mocking him there quite a bit. I started mocking him at Mr. Irrelevant quite a bit because of those things that someone had mentioned in the chat before. The 49ers need depth at the quarterback position because theoretically, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo is still on the roster. Yes, he is here. And that would mean that the 49ers have 3 quarterbacks. Okay, well, the 49ers go into camp with 4 quarterbacks. They typically have 4 guys. What have we seen from some of these 4 guys? Well, like a guy like Brock Purdy is probably has a great shot at being on the practice squad. Just look at Sudfeld. Sudfeld was on the practice squad all year last year. I don't imagine Purdy being on the active roster. He will be a practice squad guy. He's not going to beat out Nate Sudfeld. But I will say I love this pick. I even mock I even mocked in I might have to go back in the treasure chest to find where I mocked him. I had mocked Purdy in like the 6th round to the 49ers. That's how much I liked Purdy. Um, because I understood they're gonna need another quarterback, and, Purdy was a guy that I actually liked. And I've told the story, uh I was scouting Chase Allen, the Iowa State tight end, who I came away liking. Um, I started scouting. Yeah, here we go. I don't know. Hold on. Let me see if you can see this. This is real. Just so you guys know that I'm not lying. Just so you know that I'm not lying. This is an actual mock that I did. I took Brock Purdy in the 5th round. This is an actual mock that I did. Again, the mock was fire. Of course it was fire. Oh, this is one of the trade mocks. This is one of the trade mocks. But I took Brock Purdy in the 5th round. And that was intentional because when I was scouting Chase Allen, Chase Allen, the tight end from Iowa State, I was like, damn, Brock's pretty damn good. I was like, I didn't know. I didn't watch any Iowa State last year. And I went into the tape trying to watch Chase Allen, the tight end. So of course the quarterback had to throw him the football. And I was like, damn, Brock Purdy's pretty good. Good movement ability. I saw pretty good pocket awareness. I saw good arms, pretty like solid zip on the football. I saw an ability to put the ball wherever he wanted it. Um, I didn't put together like a consistency chart of like how consistent he is, which is the ultimate outlier in regards to success, in my opinion. But I saw the traits. I was like, oh, Brock Purdy's kind of good. So I legit took him in the 5th round in one of my mocks. Um, so I like the pick. I like the pick. Um, I loved it. I thought it was pretty good. So I look at him. He's going to be a developmental guy. He's going to be a guy that's going to ride the practice squad, could potentially take over to be Sudfeld's replacement, and he'll be QB2 next year. So not bad. Not bad at all. Coach says, you're a workhorse, Brad. Just got back from a run. He's still going. It's funny. After doing like the 4 hour draft shows, a 2 hour show feels so easy now. It doesn't even feel like I've been going for that long. But hey, that's how it happens. That's how it happens. But that gets us to the end of our draft recap. Again, I just wanted to go over the picks in length, in detail, and talk about those guys. So overall, I like the draft. I think what makes the draft good is the free agent class. I think when you take the overall crop of all the players that they brought in, I think you're going to find potential starters in that undrafted free agent class. I think you're going to find solid contributors, special teams contributors in that undrafted free agent class. I think you're going to find starters in that draft class. Obviously, you got great picks with Danny Gray and Drake Jackson. I think those were the two best picks. I think Zakel is going to turn out to be a sleeper cell pick. Really like that one. So overall, I love this draft. Again, you got me my boy Donovan West. Again, I would have been happy with him at 93. You got him as an undrafted free agent. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. So Justin wanted Leo Chanel bad. I feel you on that one. But overall, I thought the draft class was really strong. I'm very excited to see what this is going to look like in training camp. Very excited to see these camp battles. Excited to see these guys getting after it. I think the 49ers did a phenomenal job adding depth to all the places that they needed to add depth. And they were able to get some potential strong impact players. So overall, and hey, Deebo's still here. Jimmy's still here. I don't know if people are considering that as positive or not, but hey, he's still here. So we'll see. We'll see what continues to happen. But again, overall, really like this class, really like everything that has come together, and really, really like it. Let's see. Jay go crazy. Brad, you a real one, G. Keep grinding. Dow gang. Shout out all the SDS. Appreciate you, Jay. Really, really do. I really do appreciate all you guys. Gammon says it's an easy A. If you don't like the 49ers draft, it's because you listen to Grant Coleman root for the Jets. Damn. Grant catching strays. Grant catching strays. Boy. Justin said, did you see what John Lynch said on KNBR about wanting Jimmy to start for us or get value for him? I did not listen to that, but it sounds like I do need to listen to that. Was that today? Oh boy. Oh boy. I'll need to listen to that. But again, shout out Gammon. Shout out Jago Crazy. Shout out everyone. I think James Vega shot super chat. Shout out to Coach for shooting some super chats. Shout out to everyone who was vibing with me. I'm gonna go try and check out what that KNBR interview's about and see what's going on there. But shout out to everyone who kept the vibes up with the show. If you stuck it through, get your cookie on the way out. Appreciate the SDS. You guys are phenomenal as always. And we're gonna see. There's the best part is like, okay, we're officially heading into the off season, right? Like there's no more draft prep, there's no more free agency, right? It's gonna get a little bit more quiet. No. The 49ers are going to figure out how to keep us talking about them. And guess what? I'll be here to talk about it. As of right now, I'm still planning on doing daily lives. We'll until we just like get on here and are like, what else are we talking about? Then maybe we'll adjust. But until then, I still anticipate going live every day. Try to get some more guests on here so you don't have to listen to just me talking. I'm going to start now taking that transition period into getting call-in shows going for the squad. Again, because we don't want to just hear from me all the time, even though this ginger beard, I mean, I know you just love hearing from me all the time. Just kidding. But we will be hearing from you guys soon. So I'm going to start to try to get the call-in shows. Coach is still number one on that list. He's still number one. So we're going to now fully start to transition into the off season. I could probably still get Brian Burns on here if I wanted to. But we're going to start transitioning into that next phase of off-season content, which I'm excited about because it allows me to be a little bit more fluid on the things that we talk about, the types of content and things that we don't have to talk about just what's happening now. Now we can start having fun. We can start doing all kinds of fun stuff. So we're heading into that next phase of off-season content. Interviews maybe be coming back. We're gonna find out. All that good stuff. So shout out everyone. Smash that like button on your way out. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. We will be back soon. Appreciate you guys as always. Peace.